to SufiVoice.com, the voice of humanity. In today's session, we'll be looking at what anchor is. NLP Anchor is a very powerful technique that can double an emotion or a feeling. And the good thing about this technique is the more and more you repeat the anchor, the more and more you will reap good results of this anchor. Okay, the moment we hear the word anchor, we recollect anchors of the ship. Okay, now whenever a ship reaches a harbor, after everyone gets down, all the passengers from the ship deboard it, get down, it has to be tied up, and big ships will use anchors. Okay, these anchors are dropped from the ship and they hold back the ship to the harbor. Okay, making the ship stable so that the wind doesn't force it once again to move. Okay, but anchors and NLP are a bit different. Okay, they do the job of triggering. They recollect an incident or an happy moment, and immediately we start experiencing it. So before understanding anchoring, let me share with you a small psychological incident, historical incident, an historical psychological experiment which was carried by Ivan Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov, a Russian psychologist, he had performed a learning experiment. What Ivan Pavlov did is to feed the dogs food, he used to associate with rings. Okay, like we know that the dog has to be fed food. What he did is, before the food was served to the dogs, he started ringing bells and the food was served to them. Gradually the dog started understanding this association, and to check whether the association was carried or not, they measured the saliva of the dog in its mouth, and gradually it was noticed that whenever the bell was rang and the dog heard the sounds of the bell, it started salivating. The saliva in its mouth increased. Means it started to form an association. Okay, so association of food. So it understood that the moment the bell is rang, it is time for the food, and the saliva in its mouth increased. So this was later known as classical conditioning. Same thing happens in anchoring. Okay, so in a way, anchoring is a natural phenomenon, and it can be positive anchoring or negative anchoring. Most of the phobias which we hold are examples of negative anchoring. Okay, like for example, if someone is hydrophobia, okay, the moment you talk about water before the person, this person's feelings will change. Why? Because a negative trigger is fired in their mind and they start associating that negative feeling, and it makes them a bit disturbed. They will not be comfortable. Okay, so all the phobias are a form of negative anchor. Okay, now let us look at one more example. Here, in order to make things more clear, I would like to share a small story with you. We all had been to circus or a zoo, and did you ever observe that in a circus, the wild animal, like if you take an elephant, is tied up with a very thin chain. Okay, compared to its physical structure, if it puts a little effort and pulls the chain a bit strongly, it will easily break off. It will be free from the bondage. But the elephant doesn't move. Okay, so the chain by which it is tied up is very weak, but it will never try to break it up. Okay, now the reason behind this is when it was a baby elephant, when it was very young. Okay, now at that time the chain was a bit strong, and in the beginning, initial days, this baby elephant will try to break the chain apart. It will try and try so hard that at some point it forms a small injury on its leg. And obviously an injury will be a painful thing. And it forms an association in its mind that the chain is very strong. And the moment it tries to liberate itself, the moment it tries to free itself, it may hurt it and it may cause pain. So this association becomes stronger and stronger in the elephant's mind whenever it tries to free itself. And over a period of time, it forgets that it has grown stronger now and things are different. Things are different. Now breaking up the chains is not a big deal for the wild animal, for the elephant, but somehow it will never give a try. Why? Because whenever it tries to move its leg, again a negative trigger, a negative anchor tells us that it may be painful and it cannot escape. The chain is more stronger and it cannot break it. Okay, so that's what an anchor does. But we can use anchors in a very powerful and efficient way to double the effect, double or triple, or make the effect as many times, multiple times as possible, and create a very positive feeling in us. Okay, so as I told you, anchors can be created by a touch, by sense, or by word. So whenever we create a touch, its trigger can be activated by touch, by a sense, or by a word. Okay, so how to create an anchor now? Let us look at how to create an anchor now. We can create anchors in three simple steps. Step 1, think about a very happy moment which you cherish, which you like most. It should be your most happiest moment, and try to engage your feelings and emotions. Try to take that to the extreme stage, to its peak, where you can almost feel the emotions once again, where you have the pleasant smile, okay, on your face. Try to put in all the possible inputs. Try to multiply the effect of the event which you try to recall. That will be the first step. Now, the moment you have that strong thought in your mind, now will store it or will create a trigger. And to create a trigger, we need to do or tell us, now whenever I do this, this should happen. Okay, so this trigger can be gently created by touch or simply giving a squeeze to one noticeable part of the body, and this becomes a trigger. Okay, so first, creation of the memory. Second, associating that memory with a touch or with a word. Now we need to test it. So before we test, if you are in the same state, you will not find the difference. So we should detach ourselves from this highly associated state of memory. So what you can do is, you can slightly detach yourself. How you can detach yourself? Change your mindset. Like how you can change your mindset? Like think of something else, okay, or just for a time being, forget about the anchor that you have just created. Okay, so just deviate from that point of view for a while, okay, so that you create a disassociation. Now once you have created a disassociation, then try to touch, like if you have created an anchor on your hand, okay, try to touch the part of the hand where you have created an anchor. The moment you touch it, it creates the same feelings, okay, which you had just created. So this anchors are very powerful tool to raise your vibration, raise your memories, make you more stable and in the hour of need. They can do a marvelous, they can do a wonderful job. Okay, so let us try to create a small anchor. Okay, I'll try to demonstrate to you how to create an anchor. Okay, so okay, let us take an okay, so what we'll do is we'll create an anchor of the happiest moment you had in your life. Okay, so what was the first step? Well, just make yourself calm, stable, sit comfortable, okay, relax, make yourself more and more relaxed. Now start recollecting the happiest moment of your life. Okay, recollect, when was it, what was the date, what was the event, what was, with whom were you. Okay, try to make the event as bright as possible, as colorful as possible. Okay, recollect the words which had doubled your happiness. Who was saying what, and what made you very happy? How clear, make the words more and more clear in your mind. Let them be resonating, let them be echoing the happiness which you want to feel. Feel the happiness, feel the memory. Okay, recollect the memory, make the memory as stronger as possible. As you recollect, the memory becomes stronger and stronger. You start seeing yourself in a very happy, delighted state of happiness. The more and more you think, the more and more the happiness is increasing. Right. Now, the moment you feel like you have reached the peak of happiness, what you do is, you gently take your left hand, index finger and the middle finger. The moment you feel like I have reached optimum level of happiness, with your right hand, just give 2 squeezes. Squeeze 1 and squeeze 2. Hold that happiness moment in your mind. Congratulations, you have created your first trigger. Now, what did we discuss? Second step, third step, disassociation. Okay, don't wonder about the trigger just you have created. Just forget about the trigger. Forget about everything. Okay? Now, as you have completely disassociated the complete feelings of the trigger that you have just created, everything is vanished. You are completely normal now. Okay? Now, see what happens when you gently take up your two fingers, index finger and the middle finger, and once again uh, give gentle two squeezes. You will be amazed to see that the very next moment you give the two squeezes, you will be again in the pleasant state. Immediately your emotional state changes. You will start experiencing the peak happiness which you have just created with this trigger. So anchors are a very powerful tool in NLP. They can completely change the way we look around the things. Okay, so as practice makes things better, the more and more you practice, the more and more you will become comfortable in successfully establishing and using the anchors. We can use these anchors in an endless way. Okay, so generally it's a common phenomenon. Knowingly or unknowingly, we often use these anchors many times in our life. But once you become aware of this powerful association of the thoughts, okay, this will drastically change your way that you do the things. Hope you liked today's session. Okay, please do subscribe, please do like and change and share the good work with your friends and dear ones. Thank you. Have a good day.